So really excited to be here with one of our amazing finalists from the New York Life Keep Good Going category. We have Adam Cohen here, also known as @DaDa Rocks. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me.
Cool. So just to start off, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do and how you started DaDa Rocks and what the whole history and story is behind it?
Well, I had a child and I was kind of like looking for answers, and when my son Mark, who was first born, I was finding all these great mommy blogs. And the dad blogs I was finding just weren't connecting with what I was really looking for, which was some information about producting and how a guy kind of chooses the right products for them. And so when Mark was turning 1, I said, I really want to do this. I want to be like totally pro-fatherhood and like talk about the gear from a dad's perspective and talk about sports and some fun things. And I just wasn't finding that in many dad blogs. And the couple I did find, they were very sarcastic and, kind of like bitter on some angles of fatherhood.
Right.
That wasn't where I was coming from, so I wanted to kind of do something a little different. And that's how DaDa Rocks got started.
Cool. And so how long have you been writing for now, and how has your kind of writing evolved, and how has kind of the brand that you built evolved?
So I've been writing since 2nd grade, I guess, But no, I really think DaDa Rocks started when Mark was just turning 1, and now Mark is about to turn 5. So it's been a good evolution, and now we're kind of, the writing has evolved where it kind of goes ebbs and flows of lifestyle. I don't really, I love my wife, and very early on we were kind of feeling out like how much of the private life was going to be put on the blog, and so kind of early on we figured that out very quickly, that it was going to have to be a little bit more of what you would see if you knew us or saw us, as opposed to what happens behind bedroom doors. We weren't going to talk about personal life. We weren't going to talk about some medical things, and so we kind of made those decisions early on and had those discussions, and then I was able to kind of move forward and talk about the events that we were going to, big event lives like enrolling in pre-K and enrolling in kindergarten, and have those kind of conversations online as well.
Cool. And there are some recent very big updates in your fatherhood in the last 4 days or so. So what? Tell us about that.
So this past weekend, my wife gave to me the best gift that anyone could give to another being, which is we now have a daughter. So we welcomed our daughter Harper into the world, which is pretty fantastic. We both really wanted a girl, and we were really happy if we got boy or girl, but we did the whole wait 10 months until you have a baby and find out what it is. Which I gotta tell you, in hindsight, is absolutely like Chinese water torture, because you're like, every day you're like, oh man, I really want to know what it is. You gotta pick out 2 names. You gotta go through and shop for oh, I might want some of these, but I want some of these, but I can't have either because it's either pink or blue, and the green doesn't look cool.
Exactly. And so now that you have a daughter, you have 2 kids now, how do you think your writing, how do you think the blog is going to change? Do you think you're going to have to slow down a bit, or is this just going to give you a whole opportunity to kind of reinvent and refigure out what it means to be a dad?
I definitely think it's going to kind of be a rejiggering of things. I've already started publishing a lot more about baby gear again, because I had to get back into that world and really dive in about what I would need. I think you probably might see some fashion-y kind of stuff coming up. I think boys' fashion is very superhero and very straightforward, and I think girls' fashion might have some dresses and some interesting lifestyles differences between boys and girls. So we'll see how that goes. You might see me at a fashion show, maybe. Who knows? We'll see what's going on in the future. And as she gets older, we'll see how she wants to go. As my son is now turning 5, and literally with my wife playing the game of let's do a video review. So the other day he was reviewing his Ninja Turtles. So.
Wow. I was a big Ninja Turtle fan as well, so he's definitely on the right path. And so, one of the reasons kind of we launched this category was to find amazing moms and dads who would really use social to kind of, share things and share moments that can kind of eternally live on and pass through the generations. So is there any like advice or blog post you wrote or anything you've learned that comes to mind from doing DaDa Rocks that you're like, this message or this post or this piece of thought that I learned is definitely something that will live on no matter if there's Twitter or Facebook or whatever might be the cool hot thing?
Yeah, no, I definitely have taken away some of the like intrinsic values of what I've kind of ingested through the web and through the multimedia mediaverse. And I think, some of the key values I've kind of learned is you got to be truthful in your writing. If you're lying, if you're covering it up, someone's going to come out and call you out on it, and there's no defense. So you got to be truthful in what you do, and you got to, make sure that your kids emulate that. And I think that's very true for parent bloggers, that your kids have to be, and you have to be really honest about your kids, because that's who you're, kind of writing about and what you're kind of talking about. So if you're sitting there and you're not, and you're hiding some compartmentalizing your life, it's going to show. And I think that's the biggest thing I've really learned from this whole process. I try to do that in different ways in my life anyway.
And, what advice do you have to other parents that might want to start writing or start a blog? I know you gave some great advice of kind of like setting up guidelines in terms of what's okay to share and what's not. Beyond that, any other advice that comes to mind?
Well, I think the guidelines have to come first and foremost. I think you need to have that discussion about where's the line in the sand, and don't cross it, and don't egg on the spouse by constantly crossing it, because you will find yourself maybe with a great online presence but with a very unhappy home. Right. So I think you got to get those boundaries, and I think you have to be very truthful about writing for yourself. If you write for the stats, if you write for the brands, if you write for anyone but yourself, it'll become a job. And this isn't about being a job, it's about being a passion. And you need to show and live passionately to your children, because what are you doing otherwise? And I think that that passion, you need to take that back, show the kids that you could do. You gotta show them that you can be passionate, and show them once you are passionate about something that you want to do it for yourself. So I think in any hobby you're doing it for yourself, and if you think of blogging as a hobby, and you don't write for the others, and you don't write for the audience, and you don't get too convoluted, you're going to end up with a great product and make yourself very happy.
That's amazing advice. And I guess the last thing that would be just great to hear about, which is, kind of encompasses all that, and which is why you're here, is so when did you first find out you were nominated for a Shorty Award? And, if you heard of the Shorties, what was it like to get all those people, tweeting about why you keep good going?
So I found out about the Shorties when they first came out. I was super excited. I thought this is awesome. They have the Webbies, they have the Oscars, they have the Grammys, and I was like, finally, I love Twitter. I've embraced it since I ever discovered it, which was at a Web 2.0 conference, and I met Sarah, who had written the book with Tim O'Reilly, the O'Reilly Twitter book, and I had met her, and she was doing a presentation with Tim on the Twitter book, and I was able to speak to her afterwards about what is this, and see some of my tweets later on in the conference appear on the background board. So I was like, finally, this is, and I really love the medium of Twitter. So when I heard about the Shorty Awards, I was like, this is pretty cool. This actually shows that Twitter's evolving. It's becoming much more of an ecosystem and a platform, and something that people want to sit there and call out and say, these are the people that really make things matter and make things stand apart. And so the honor of being nominated for the Shorty Award was awesome, especially in a category that I find a lot passionate. It's not just humor or giveaways or toys or whatever, categories that you could kind of create. It was really on a category that's near and dear, which is talking about keeping good going, which is really, to me, it's about passing down traditions to the next generation. And I think, watching all those New York Life commercials and seeing how they envision keeping good going and how I envision what I do with my kids and raising my family, I think that's it kind of is a perfect harmony. So I'm really deeply honored about that.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate that, Adam, and that's so great to hear. I think it's always wonderful when, exactly the kind of people who deserve it get nominated by everyone. So it's a testament to what you've done and your followers. And, just lastly, if you can let us know as we're wrapping up where we can find and follow you on your website, other social media sites.
So I'm Adam Cohen, and you can find me on DaDaRocks.com, DaDaRocks.com. You can follow me on Twitter at DaDa Rocks, DaDaRocks, on Twitter and on Facebook and on YouTube and everywhere you can imagine. You can find DaDa Rocks, and especially on Instagram these days. I'm very big with having a baby and posting baby photos on Instagram. I'm very excited about that. It's awesome.
Thank you. Well, congratulations again on the amazing news, and I'm glad she's healthy and 4 days down and a lifetime to go. So we're really happy for you and so thankful for taking the time to chat with us a bit.
Well, thanks for having me, and look forward to seeing you on at the awards.
Yeah, we'll see you on the teal carpet on Monday.
All right, fingers crossed. Let's go. Big win.
Good luck, and see you on Monday. Thanks a lot, Adam.
Thanks so much. See you Monday.